The following content is intended solely for informational purposes. The views expressed by hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily represent those of Alea Research, its affiliates, or any organizations with which participants are associated. Nothing discussed should be construed as financial, legal, or investment advice. Viewers are encouraged to conduct their own analysis and consult professional advisors before making investment decisions. Welcome to a new Market Cap episode. Market Cap is where funds and firms provide their insight on their activities, sector, and the markets at large to you, our audience of institutional investors and traders, as well as industry professionals. I'm your host, Stefano, Director Institutional Services at Alea Research, and with me I have Jeff Wang, Web3 Evangelist, and Nik Fahrer, Blockchain and Digital Assets Practice Leader, both at Forvis Mazars US. Guys, welcome on the show. Good to finally have you with us.
Thanks, Stefano. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely, my pleasure. So, quick introduction on Forvis Mazars, if I may be so bold. To our understanding, Forvis Mazars is a global audit, tax, and advisory firm operating across more than 100 countries with a growing focus on digital assets. The firm supports clients with crypto assurance, stablecoin attestation, regulatory readiness, and tax compliance, applying traditional professional standards, right, to emerging blockchain structures. And your digital assets practices combine technical understanding with institutional risk, governance, and control frameworks that especially matter to regulators and large enterprises. Does that cover the basics?
It covered the basic, and maybe to just add something, a little bit of clarity, and why we have Nik and myself on the show today and talking about Forvis Mazars. So as you said, Forvis Mazars is a global company. Now we have the chance to have Nik and myself. So we have two different entities within the same brand. The same name is Forvis Mazars, but you have Forvis Mazars US, focusing on the US markets, and then you have Forvis Mazars Group, which represents and is present across the world, like for 105 countries. But as you said, it is right. We are a global company focusing a lot on audits, financial audits, and also advisory. And this is really, really diverse. And we are not only focusing on digital asset and crypto, we are focusing on, a traditional businesses.
Mm-hmm.
We're working with small and medium businesses as well as a big corporation, asset manager, private equity, like a really, really diverse set of clients we have.
That's very clear. But maybe you can tell us a little bit more, because now we'll ask you guys to introduce yourselves and your roles as well, what it is you do at Forvis Mazars specifically, and how you came into that role. That's always interesting to know, the trajectory to that. And maybe in answering that question, maybe you can also tell us a little bit about how Forvis Mazars specifically came to focus more on blockchain and digital assets.
Absolutely. Yeah. First of all, thank you for having us on, Stefano. It's great to be here.
Pleasure.
So, as a blockchain and digital asset practice leader for Forvis Mazars in the US, I'll start with my background here. I had a friend tell me about Bitcoin in 2014, and I think, like most people that early on in Bitcoin's life cycle, I laughed in his face and I told him that he was crazy. And he didn't give up on me. He continued to bring it up in conversation, and he was super convicted that Bitcoin was going to be the next biggest thing. And of course, he wasn't wrong. And so, yeah, so finally I sat down to do my own research, and I did it out of spite to try and prove him wrong. And he said, well, if you're going to try and prove me wrong, you have to listen to my side of the story too. So he shared some Andres Antonopoulos videos with me and some articles and whatnot. And so I had the pleasure of learning about Bitcoin and sovereign ownership and not your keys, not your crypto sort of concepts. And that's where my journey started, was early 2017, and it really coincided with a bull market there towards the middle to end of 2017. So almost perfect timing for me. And through that process, I was able to write an article about some of the things that I learned in my research, because I felt like if I learned this information, our clients would also find it valuable. And when you write an article on those types of topics and folks read that, they think, oh, well, this person must be an expert in crypto tax or crypto accounting or whatever it may be. And so then it kind of snowballed from there, and I got experience through that, and it led to where we are today. And as the blockchain digital assets practice leader for Forvis Mazars in the US, I have the pleasure of working really horizontally across all of our verticals. So our verticals being audit, tax, and consulting, and really specialize and spend 100% of my time working with clients in this industry. And that is crypto native companies, that is TradFi that are incorporating blockchain and digital assets within their traditional rails. So it's a wide range of different types of clients and a wide range of different types of verticals.
Got it. Jeff,
Yes.
how do you fit in?
Good story, Nick. About how do you discover? I got kind of the same. But initially, maybe I'm telling you a little bit of my background. But I am an engineer in biotechnology initially, so not at all related to finance or technology. But I've always been, passionate about, innovation and science and what's could be done with innovation. And that's where my journey started, with working on with life science companies, pharmaceutical companies, healthcare. And then I moved to IP, intellectual property, working with all global leaders in innovation in Europe and Africa and Asia as well. As well, some lawyers taking care of patent, trademarks, those type of things. So really close to innovation. And one of my friends also introduced me the idea of Bitcoin. It was in 2013, and same reaction as you, Nick. It was just like, okay, what are you talking about? What's this currency? It's not a currency. I haven't heard about it. I don't know what is it. You're doing some kind of illegal activity with it. It won't work, And just like few years after, I just said, okay, so why not? Why not just investing? So I entered this world through, let's say, like the investor or speculator angle. So it was just a few years after this story. And then in let's say 2016, 2017, I wanted to just give my eye of engineer of this technology and just deep dive about how this technology works actually. So that's where I really discovered the potential power of this technology. And since then, even though not working directly in the industry, I was following like every day what's been going on. And then after the bull run of 2020 and 2021, I realized that a lot of individual and company jump into the trend of blockchain and crypto for not the right reason. And I realized that I kind of had a mission on helping the corporate and the traditional world to really embrace blockchain and crypto, because I was convinced at the time, 2020, 2021, the next wave of adoption will be through the traditional world and the corporate. So that's why I've started to work with my, some ex-clients, mainly focusing on luxury markets, to try to really help them to understand what's going to change with this technology. And then I've been talking to different type of company in the finance markets. And end of 2022, I've started discussion with Forvis Mazars at the time. And just for the story, that's why our name is Forvis Mazars. Is we created an alliance between the US firm Forvis and Mazars. So that's why the branding of Forvis Mazars now. And I joined Forvis Mazars in 2023, beginning of 2023. And my mission in the first day was to acculturate the group around the topic of Web3 and how it's going to change the perspective for us and for our clients. So it could be banks, asset manager, private equity, all type of our clients. And he has a little bit changed on and on, days after days, months after months, and I've started working also on use cases for us internally, and then started as a Web3 evangelist. Now I'm more global on technologies, so I'm following like all type of emerging technologies. So you have AI, quantum, of course, blockchain and crypto, and as well as this role, I have a seat at the digital asset task force within Forvis Mazars Group.
Interesting. Okay, so very wide breadth. It stands out to me that both of you started out as skeptics of the technology, but actually through your skepticism and turning like a very a sharp eye to it, you kind of went into it and found out, hey, this is actually very interesting. And I can imagine that that type of attitude is kind of exactly what you need at a firm like Forvis Mazars, which is all about editing or auditing, I should say. Um, so I can imagine that that serves you well. We've spoken about what Forvis Mazars does with digital assets, at a very high level, right? Text auditing, etc. Can you guys explain a little bit more about what it is that you guys do when you meet someone at a conference and they ask, like, okay, so how do you help these projects out in crypto? You said some of them are crypto natives, some of them are maybe TradFi firms that are getting into blockchain. How do you help them out?
Yeah, I can start. So one of the base use cases is financial statement audits. This is something that we're very familiar with. We do often. And basically what a financial statement audit is a client comes to us and they say, hey, we have these financial statements that we've put together that represent the current financial landscape of our business. It's usually at year end. Okay, so we'll just use December 31st as an example. And it has a balance sheet, which is a snapshot of all of the assets and liabilities that they have at December 31st. And it has an income statement, which is the overall revenue and operating expenses and additional income and expense items that occur throughout the entire fiscal period. There's usually a cash flow statement and some other footnotes as well. And so what this does is they come to us and they say, we want you to, I'm going to use a word, it's not 100% accurate, but basically certify or put your opinion over these financial statements so that others that are reviewing our financial statements have trust that they are materially complete and accurate. And so we perform that service often. We have several clients in that area. Like I said, both crypto native and TradFi that are incorporating blockchain digital assets. Along the same lines, we also provide other attestation services. So that's one form of a test service or assurance service. You mentioned earlier in the show stablecoin attestations and proof of reserves. We have experience performing those as well. And then, shifting verticals on the tax side, of course, several different jurisdictions have requirements where you have to submit a income tax form, whether it be for your corporate business or for individuals. And we can help our clients not only submit that tax return, but go through and help them calculate maybe it's gains or losses on the crypto trading or different nuances as it goes into the income tax return. So we can help them there. On the consulting side, we have several clients that we work with related to internal audit and IT risk and compliance. And so basically what that is helping corporates manage and make sure that their controls are in place so that they're not maybe losing their private keys or that they're protecting their private keys or if they're deploying a smart contract, that they've considered user access controls and different type of controls to protect the assets in place and protect any sort of funny business from happening. So that's at a real high level of the types of services that we offer. Jeff, would you add anything?
Yeah, maybe that's very clear. I think what we can also add, and this is the beauty of our firm is pretty diverse of what we do. The number of experts we have, and sometimes you discover like every day that's we have an expert in this field. So that's interesting. But what I can add on digital asset also is we have a really strong compliance team, and that's what the market has evolved for the past years. We can see like much more regulatory clarity. And if I'm talking about the European markets, we have MiCA for the whole Europe, and that's where we can help and support some entities who wants to be compliant in Europe. So that's also one key feature we have in advisory for compliance. You touched a little bit about IT audit, but that's something we can also link to is the cybersecurity team we can have related. It could be related to compliance as well, because sometimes you need some cybersecurity audits to be compliant. But that's pretty much what we can offer at that time. What is interesting to mention about us is I remember at the time in 2016, 2017, I found out some podcast and communication about the firm around crypto because during the boom of the ICOs, and we have a really strong team around capital markets that were here to support ICOs or entities who wanted to launch a token. So the expertise of the firm have started like quite some times ago, and also good and I think benefits of working at Forvis Mazars. We have a strong technical team, an R&D team with blockchain engineer who really know the stuff. From managing a node, the smart contract. They are really hands-on the technology, and they're coming from some the crypto ecosystem and working into this ecosystem. So we have the expertise of audit and advisory as well as combined as the technical expertise for crypto.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah, you offer a wide range of specific specialized services, right? But I would say that the common theme is that at the end of the day, it's all about traditional, well-known practices that are aimed at making sure that all the numbers are on the up and up, and that external parties can trust those numbers because they're verified and they're checked and all those things. But also from a technical standpoint, you understand the underlying tech whenever that's necessary, right? That's very clear. My question mainly right now, my mind is going to this interesting tension that you guys are operating in. That is, on one hand, you have this expertise of common business practices as they are done in the real world, as we can say, and then we have crypto world, cyberpunk, Wild West. I can imagine that that must lead to interesting situations where maybe you're like dealing with a firm or with founders that are not used to the types of services and requirements that you guys are addressing, right? Can you touch a little bit on on that. What are the biggest gaps? What are interesting tensions there? Or maybe it's actually quite surprising that actually that gap is not as big as people think.
Yeah, I could start. So we have standard setting bodies in the US that hold us to a high standard. A couple of those would be the PCAOB or the AICPA, right? And so we have to adhere to strict standards that they employ on us. And so because of that, we also hold our clients to high standards. And so, we don't necessarily just work with anybody that wants to work with us, for example. And we love to work with folks and clients that are of high integrity and that want to do things the right way and that have the best of intentions. And so we have a rigorous background check process, independence process, client onboarding and acceptance process. And we feel that because we hold our clients to a high standard and because we're held to a high standard, that allows our product, our work product, to be held in high regard, right? So if you come to us and say, hey, we would like for you to audit our financial statements, and we do in fact accept you as a client, we work through those financial statements, and we provide our opinion on those financial statements, that adds a lot of trust in the market. So whenever whoever is reading those financial statements sees Forvis Mazars' name on it, they have a lot of trust in that. And so that's why we hold our clients to a high standard, just as we're held to a high standard. And that's why we have that process. So you're right. I mean, we do have a lot of interesting conversations, but I would say we try to tackle those challenges on the front end so that way we're not coming up on surprises on the back end. And
Absolutely.
unfortunately, we try to avoid this at all times possible, but there are chances, and this happens very rarely, but there are some times where we just have to agree to walk away, and both parties agree to it and say, hey, this just wasn't the right fit, and that's what it is at the end of the day.
Interesting. I
Yeah,
was
absolutely.
to quickly interject what Jeff,
Yeah.
I'm going to let you answer as well, but maybe you can add on this. That's sometimes that happens. I'm sure. I was mainly thinking that it's just a matter of inexperience of a lot of maybe like young founders. They come up in crypto and they're simply not used to the type of frameworks that you guys apply, all the due diligence, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it's very common, and I'll say this too as well. Like, there are some founders that are very ambitious, and for example, this is just an example. They may say, "Oh, I wanna go public with this company," and they want to do it in a very short time frame. Well, I think some founders that are ambitious don't necessarily understand the level of investment and the amount of time that it takes to go from being a private company to being a public company, and the rigorous compliance that goes along with being a public company. And so oftentimes we have those conversations, and we try to coordinate and communicate to them that, hey, this is probably not something that's going to happen overnight, but that's sometimes the ambition of the founder. And so, yeah, I mean, that's just one example, but you're spot on.
Interesting. Jeff.
Absolutely. I wanted just to also touch a point about the brand and the digital asset or crypto market, because what is important to understand, the business of Forvis Mazars is the reputation. So really linked to what Nik, you were saying. So some of the markets are seen as risky for the reputation, so for the business. And of course, crypto and digital assets has been seen over the years as a little bit of risky, and that's why we put a lot of rules in place internally, such as acceptance and some processes internally, just to be sure everything can be handled for us internally with the level of expertise at the global level, and being able to serve the clients, and the entity can be like crypto native or traditional businesses, but as well as those entities are kind of the high level standard, and that could have been sometimes a little bit tricky for us, with related to digital asset, because it could be like like some kind of a break. Sometimes we were saying that okay, we can move a little bit around digital asset, but that's where all the regulation, the compliance, and also the market information we can have like for the past 2 years have helped a lot, and moving the credibility of the sectors. And where I see Forvis Mazars the big benefit or advantage of Forvis Mazars is where we are sitting kind of in between the innovation, the digital asset world, and the traditional world. So we help our TradFi or traditional clients get into this Web3 world and using the digital asset or the blockchain. And at the same time, we're helping the innovator and the crypto native getting the credibility to go into the traditional world. That's where I see, our position.
That's 100% clear, and that's something that resonates very deeply, obviously, with us at Alea Research. It's about credibility and bringing the traditional players and this industry closer together, right? And that bridge needs to be gapped. That gap needs to be bridged. Let me ask you another question. You mentioned that you work with different type of clients, some crypto native, some more traditional finance. They're all very serious players that want to make an actual impact to the economy and to this industry. What are some further common themes that you spot, or like the patterns that you can spot from the people that you work with and that you see in the industry, not just in general, but maybe emerging like this last year? Maybe it's interesting to pick a few sectors that are maybe developing faster than others. And yeah, maybe also, where are crypto projects still lagging in their understanding of what it is that is truly needed, that's expected of them, that they still don't really understand well enough, at least?
Yeah, so some trends that we're seeing in the U.S. Number one, obviously, the current administration in the U.S. is much more friendly towards crypto than the prior administration. I think that is well known. I'm not sharing anything that is surprising there.
Yeah.
Because of that, though, there's a couple of domino effects. And one thing that we're seeing is that there's more token issuers, more TGE events that are occurring within the U.S. now rather than outside the U.S. I think that there was a common structure for there to be a U.S. DevCo with like maybe a Cayman Foundation and a BVI subsidiary, and you would issue the token out of the BVI subsidiary, right? Well, because of the lax in regulation in the U.S., we're starting to see more TGEs in the U.S. Okay, so that's one trend. Another trend is in the TradFi world. Also, again, because regulators, especially banking regulators like the FDIC, the OCC, and the Federal Reserve, have relaxed their positions on traditional financial institutions in the U.S. being involved in crypto and digital assets, we're seeing more traditional banks, more traditional financial institutions adopt this technology. And the Genius Act that got passed in July in the U.S., which is going to allow for the incorporation of stablecoins into the U.S. financial institution and financial services sector. That is also a huge trend that we're seeing now, is more and more folks that are adopting stablecoins, not just financial institutions that want to be a stablecoin issuer, but also corporates that want to use stablecoins for maybe cross-border payments or accepting it as a merchant. That's also becoming a domino effect where stablecoins is really just kind of the base case. And we're seeing traditional financial institutions also want to tokenize real world assets more often than they were under the previous administration. So I think the first couple of items that they're starting to tokenize are money market funds and treasuries and repos. And that will lend itself to other tokenized assets, real world assets that get tokenized in the future as well. So those are some of the trends that we're seeing in the US.
I was about to say pretty much similar. I was wanting to touch about stablecoin, and of course that's a big trend. Also here, and the tokenization. And I don't know, tokenization is also, or stablecoin is also like some sort of tokenization. What I want to add on this is just like saying, yes, there are like some kind of doors open to, do more of stablecoins and do more of tokenization. And we've seen it help a lot. What has happened in the US. And we saw the domino effect also in Europe and also in other regions such as like Asia. And I think, Stefano, you're based in Asia. You can see how dynamic the market is also in Asia, but it helps the whole world. What has happened in the US. On the other hand, what I can see in really, really traditional companies is it's still really early days for like traditional corporates saying that we want to use stablecoin. Okay, but we're lacking lots of information for some CFO. They might have heard a little bit about crypto. They're not really familiar about the whole stable coins and how it works and what is in behind the stablecoin. So I think we need to do a lot of effort about like supporting these traditional companies to actually use stable coins. On the finance side, I'm quite confident. We have done a lot, and it's moving into the right direction. But in the, let's say, other than finance, it still needs like a little bit of education.
Right. You're saying non-finance companies that can also perfectly leverage the technology of crypto, like the blockchain,
Yeah.
maybe.
So as Nik mentioned, it could be like, and that's something we are really evaluating internally, is the cross-border payments, how to use the technology to be able to, pay different subsidiaries or like exchange value between subsidiaries. But also the other trend is the crypto payments. A merchant accepting crypto.
Yeah.
I think that's a trend we have seen for like, I don't know, at least seen in Europe for the past year. A lot of company just announce that they're accepting crypto. What I'm quite curious is at the end of the year, how many transactions have they done, in crypto, and what is the value also? Because when you, I don't know, you're talking about a luxury brand. If they say, okay, we accept crypto payments, we only did once, but it was like $2 million. Okay, it's worth it. But if you're talking about, I don't know, a wholesaler, I don't know, selling like maybe, or having like 5 different transactions for $10, it just you have to see what is, or where is the value being added, having the crypto payments. So that's why I'm curious about where is going the crypto payments actually.
Absolutely. It will. It remains to be seen, of course, but there's definitely a lot of hype and momentum there. Another question is, what do you think, like going forward? Right. Let's look at 2026 because it's that time of year almost again where we start looking for the new year, right? What would you like if you could talk with crypto founders? Like, what do you think? What is something like a piece of knowledge that you want to give them that you think is still very much lacking, where we still need to make a big step? What what adjustments do crypto projects still need to make to really come into the fold of the global economy, right? The interconnected real world economy.
Two things that immediately come to mind for me in the U.S. Number one is when we talk about TGEs that are now out of the U.S. rather than outside of in a foreign jurisdiction, right? Withholding tax and withholding information reporting becomes much more of an issue in the U.S. So something that I want to make founders aware of there is, if you're going to do a TGE out of the U.S., this is something that hasn't gotten enough media attention or just attention in general, is that you're going to have some withholding obligations if you're going to TGE and then airdrop some of those tokens. If you don't airdrop, then it's much less of a concern. But if you're going to have that requirement for backup withholding and information reporting, that means you're going to have to KYC those folks that you airdrop to. And typically that's not something that we see in this space. And so that creates a challenge. Okay. So something to think about how you structure your TGE and airdrops in general. Maybe those projects start to avoid airdrops more, or they only airdrop it to a certain limited number of folks that they have already KYC'd or that they plan to KYC. Second thing is, as a founder, you want to focus on growth and building, right? In the very beginning. One thing though, that if you're going to be incorporated into this new landscape where traditional financial institutions are going to adopt blockchain technology, crypto, digital assets, Web3, whatever you want to call it, and your end game is that you ultimately want to work with those financial institutions, or you want to be acquired by those financial institutions, you need to put an emphasis on compliance. And you also need to put an emphasis on what's called a SOC report in the US. And that SOC report essentially is an assurance type of report that says that you put in controls around your product that protect data and protect the financial reporting integrity of your product. And many financial institutions in the US have to do rigorous third-party risk management if they work with a third party. And that will be one of the first questions they ask is, do you have a SOC report? And if you do have a SOC report, is it from a reputable firm like Forvis Mazars? So those are the top two things that I would suggest.
Interesting. You see that the game starts way earlier than people think, right? You really have to prepare these things ahead of time. Jeff.
No, totally agree with you, Nick. I think it's really. I think the dream, back in the days of crypto guys trying to set up something outside of the finance is finished. Is like we can see like crypto has been, and is part of the finance, which is good. It's not like crypto and finance. Crypto is into finance, so that's where you have rules, and when you want to be compliance, you have to play some rules, and you need to be held by companies like Forvis Mazars. So yes, that's important. I think I'm just want to talk a little bit about stablecoin, because we touch stablecoin. I think a key aspect is you were talking about the US. I think an important things, especially from US or other region, is like the importance of having much more stablecoin pegged to a different currency of the US dollars. I think that's where we're going to see a trend, because that's it represents I think 99.6% on the total like stablecoin markets, where you see the total currency. I think the euro is around like 20-25%. So we need to grow a little bit more, the market share of different type of currencies in the stablecoin market. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see in 2026 some kind of initiatives around, like, let's say, European banks working on this objective. And the second thing for 2026 and related to stablecoins, and we touch about cross-border payments, but I think what will be the key aspects around allowing more payments is the privacy, and how we will add a level of privacy into the cross-border payment, the use of stablecoins for the traditional world, and how we will make it like compliance in a compliant way.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. It's to harken back to what you were saying earlier, right? I think a lot of people they got involved in crypto for partly ideological reasons. There was a dream and a hope, and maybe there were things about the financial system that weren't always great. And then, okay, maybe this is a new way, maybe things can improve. But I think a lot of people have been in crypto for a long time, and I'm at least speaking for myself here, is that with time, you also see that when everything is unregulated, it becomes a problem as well. And usually there is ultimately a bag holder that is like some normal person who has had their life savings lost and things like that. And then you start seeing over time that actually, as nice as it would be to have everyone do whatever they want and everything is fine and good, you have to put some guardrails in place to protect people um, from themselves, even sometimes. So yeah, so I think that's why we're starting to see this shift even in this industry, right? And as you said, like crypto is finance. It's not like really a separate thing, you know. Um, you both indicated some very interesting trends for the next year for the industry, but I also want to ask you guys before we wrap up, like what's next for you guys next year as a firm? What are you guys maybe announcing, or maybe areas or initiatives that you're going to focus on or that are underway?
Yeah, in the US, a couple of things. So, and this is one of the ways that we stand out as a firm too, is not only are we a professional services firm in this space, but we also participate in the network as well. We're operating a node on multiple different chains. We are chain agnostic, so there's not any one chain that we endorse over the others, but we do participate in the network by running our own nodes, and so that will continue to be a priority for us, is continuing to be a participant in the network. Another area of importance for us is in the US is also around data analytics and analytics around on-chain information. I think we're going to see more and more real-world assets come on-chain, more and more traditional financial institutions, and so data analytics is going to become even more of importance for these firms.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good message, Nick, and I think that's also, yes, something to re-emphasize that you know the relationship we have between the group and the US. It is important to tackle international projects. And in a sense, what I like when I joined Forvis Mazars, at the group level, but it can be applied like globally. We are in a sense like decentralized with all our countries, like um, operating like with their own P&L, but then we have the vision of the group and now the network, which help, and where we can help different global projects we are with our expert, like globally. And what's next is, yes, continuing showing that we have this high level of expertise and onboarding more clients, and helping also crypto native companies to be more compliant, or helping them to in terms of audits in different kind.
Absolutely. Where can people find you to either learn more, or maybe people are interested in working with Forvis Mazars either on the US side or on the global level, the group level? Where can it best go to find you too?
So I'm very active on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is the best place to find me and connect with me. And I love connecting with folks on LinkedIn. So Nik Fahrer on LinkedIn. And then if you want to go to our website, it's forvismazars.us, and the group's website is forvismazars.com. But like Jeff said, we operate under the same brand and act as one firm, even though we are two separate legal entities.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And for myself, same. LinkedIn, you can follow me, so you can put the link. It's Jean-François Wang or Jeff. You can find me also on LinkedIn.
Excellent. I definitely recommend people they do that. Guys, thank you for the insights. It was an interesting conversation, and I think we're both doing our parts in making this industry a more connected part of the global economies, step by step. But it's a good fight, and I want to thank you for it.
Thank you so much for having
Thank
us
you,
on.
Stefano. Thank
Absolutely.
you for having us.
Also want to thank the audience. Thanks everyone for tuning in. It's always a pleasure. If you enjoyed this, you can access more insights in the following ways. For in-depth reports, many of them publicly accessible, you can join our research platform. For protocol market summaries and highlights, you can subscribe to our newsletter. And for daily news updates, you can join our Telegram channel. All the links are in the bio. And of course, tune in next time. We release a new episode every week. So follow us on X and YouTube. This was Market Cap, where funds and firms provide their insight on their activities, sector, and the markets at large to you, our audience of institutional investors and traders, as well as industry professionals. See you on the next Market Cap.